Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, depending on where in the world you are. My name is Bob Wright, and I am here with Julien Wells. He has returned. Are you there, Julien?
Returned. I'm here. And returning is relative, right? Because I'm in a new place now, so I'm kind of speaking from an after transition point, so to speak. But yeah, I guess I'm not, quite the Gandalf return type of return, but either way, I'm glad to be here and back on the show, be able to share the experiences we're going through with everybody, because I know everybody out there is like, what is going on?
Oh, what is going on? That is the question. What is going on? Well, welcome everybody before we get into that, because we're going to talk about what exactly is going on. I want to say welcome to everybody who's in the chat room, and I want to let everyone know beforehand, this is going to be an extremely interactive show. So we really want everyone who's got questions or has comments or wants to share experiences, please call in. The call-in number is 646-716-4598. Or if you have Skype, you can click the Skype button right at the top of the Blog Talk page, and that will put you into the switchboard as well. And we appreciate everyone to participate if you are brave enough. What is going on? Julien, what is going on? We talked a little bit about this last week, about this wave of energy that's just recently hit us. A lot of people are calling the Lion's Gate, and what it's actually, what energy it's actually brought and how it's affecting us.
Yeah.
I had mentioned to Julien right before we were having a little chit chat before we went on live here. I feel as though that we are in the midst of the physical transformation part of the shift. So you're talking about physical DNA. That's been happening for quite some time, but you're actually seeing the physical result of activated DNA start to manifest in people. I'm hearing tons of stories of communal dreaming. Is that a phrase I can coin? I'm sure some indigenous tribes probably already coined it. But yeah. Communal dreaming.
Shared dreams.
Shared dreams. My niece just she was telling about this story. She said that they were in this big, huge mansion, and all of her friends just happened to show up there at the same place. She couldn't remember how she got there either, but they all kind of showed up at this place. And there was a flash, and all of her psychic abilities instantly turned on. And she knew what was going to happen 10 minutes before it was happening. And she was telling everybody, we've got to get to safety. There's going to be a flood. We've got to move here. We've got to move there. And those who were listening, those who were tuned in, they all knew exactly what to do. And other people were running around confused, and they were getting struck by lightning and everything. And she went through this whole, process and where she guided everybody, in our family to safety, because she knew beforehand what was going to happen. But she woke up the next morning, right? And she immediately picks up the phone and she calls her girlfriend who was in the dream. And her girlfriend answers the phone crying, I'm okay. This type of phenomenon is happening in inordinate numbers. So there's a syncing going on, a soul family syncing, or a collective consciousness syncing, I would say is going on, and a lot of DNA. I'm not going to say activation. I'm going to say activated DNA manifestation in the physical vehicle.
Like the DNA upgrade has already occurred, and now, like, the actual actions as a result of that are coming forward.
Yeah, like the power is getting turned on. Connections are made, and now the power switch is getting turned on in certain areas. So, I mean, I physically myself, number one, not need to eat so much, not need to sleep so much when I'm not zonked out, but I that energy wave where I was getting zonky during the days kind of subsided the last couple of days. And, you know, just very, very present. Extremely, extremely present. So, I mean, to the point where I like we talked last week about, like, periods where you just kind of blank into space.
Yeah.
Kind of just,
yeah, it's like like a peaceful space.
Yes. But you know, for the people who are around don't know what's going on, they end up looking at you and like, are you okay?
Yeah.
You know, if you've been getting that question asked you a lot, you know, are you
worse,
okay?
But I'm not asleep at my desk, I swear.
You don't seem yourself. Are you okay? And it's beginning to feel as though that part of me is in a different reality, and at times more of me is in that other reality than is here. And I leave enough here so that I'm kind of on autopilot and I can function, but not great for conversation.
Right. Well, it's that, you know, foot in, foot out, right? Sort of feel. But sometimes, like, okay, I'm going, like, majority of my attention is in the foot out perspective for those that are inside here. So it's like, you know, is he looking at jumping here? And so they get concerned.
Well,
he's about to jump ship, and it's like, of course I'm not jumping ship. This is the best game ever. At the same time, you're like, oh man, that other world's got to come over here. Like, it is good. Like, oh, we got to bring some of that on this side. You know, it's not the grass is greener sort of feeling, but it's more like, hey, there's a lot yet to occur, and I feel it.
There's a movie I just watched, and it was called Wake Up. I don't know if anyone's seen this movie, but it's a movie. It's about a guy. He's just a average, you know, middle-aged, you know, I guess maybe early 30s, and he woke up one morning, and he says it was like a switch was turned on in his head, and he could suddenly see energy. He could see angels, spirits, demons, and it completely freaked him out because it opened him up to this whole new world, and he started going, you know, he went to different, you know, religious leaders, you know, to try to figure out what's happening, went to doctors, you know, metaphysicians, and he finally did a vision quest where he started to, you know, actually find some answers. But his experience, you know, in day-to-day activity, you know, and he would see people that other people weren't seeing, you know, and he was open to this whole new world that before, you know, he didn't even know if he believed existed. You know, he was never a spiritual person. He was never, you know, and it's like a documentary. They follow him around, you know, as he's going on this search to find out what happened to him and what it all means. And this is something I think is going to start happening to more and more people. because it's instantly going to change the way you look at yourself, the world, the way your ideas about death and life, because he's seeing a lot of dead people walking around.
Yeah.
So, this
my experience isn't exactly like that, but it's certainly quite transformational. At the same time, there's a deliberateness in terms of where and how I explore it, somehow. You know?
Well, like you can plug into it or out of it at will. Is that what you mean?
Well, I mean, like, it's up to me to decide what I'm going to focus on next and what I'm going to explore. Sure, there are a couple unexpected things I didn't see coming, but it's like, you know, if I want to learn more about crystals, then I go start exploring crystals, and great things start to happen when I start touching and playing with crystals, right? Or if I'm going to look into, you know, having a meditation, I can just have my old meditation where I'm just calming myself, or I can be like a meditation, and I'm going to do something during this meditation, and I'm going to, like, project into something and see where that goes, not knowing exactly what will come of it. And then I come back and, like, I just went to the other side, and holy crap, now what am I going to do having gone through that experience? Like, I didn't think it would be that serious. It's really weird when you start having the option of how you actually want to grow, because it's like, normally it's like just go with the flow is the idea, right? Go with the flow and you'll be guided and you'll get, you know, the experiences you're meant to have. But there's a point at which, at least in my place and point of view, where now it's like the world's your oyster. What do you want to? Where do you want to play? You know.
You know, I was watching, you know, some of the news feeds and things. What I'm finding, and this is on mainstream media, a lot of discussions being taken place that you would never have heard, you know, 6 months ago, let alone like a couple of years ago. They're talking about, you know, DNA teleportation. They're talking about this solar pole flip, you know, and how it's affecting it. It's like I'm watching, you know, different people talk about how DNA can mutate and evolution, and new ideas are being openly discussed, you know, and people are generally starting to, I would say there's a shift that's taken place, not just physically, you know, in our bodies, but we're seeing it in society. We're seeing it in the media. We're seeing it in all these different people who are coming out with information that they've been sitting on for years and years and years, and just all of a sudden, it's time to release this. And I want to say what I know. And it's getting very, very easier to connect the dots, to see how things are all fitting together. And at the same time that there's this dump of information that's coming out, there's this internal activation that's happening, you know, to everybody, whether you're consciously aware of it or not. Those who are unconsciously aware of it are experiencing a lot of unraveling of programs that were running running wild in their consciousness. And I'm watching this period, you know, almost of cleansing of these old patterns. They're like programs. They literally are like programs, you know.
Software programs. Yep.
Yeah, instruction sets that tell you that you should behave a certain way in a certain circumstance for whatever benefit of someone or someone outside of yourself. But these things people are starting to look at these and say, why am I doing that? You know, why am I doing this? You know, and literally changing these programs or deleting these programs as they don't serve. You know, and the ones who are not, the programs start to amplify themselves to the point where they can't be ignored. and everybody sees the program.
Yeah.
They're
Like,
it's almost
there's a flaw in the system. This is God. It's like.
Well, you get it like this exaggerated behavior. This exaggerated behavior that they're displaying. And everybody can see the problem.
Yeah. You remember the Truman Show where the lamp falls from the sky?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, what the hell? And everybody can see it, and they're trying to ignore it. But he's like, he notices. Well, I don't know if everyone else notices, but it's like, there's something clearly behind the scenes going on. And now everyone kind of sees the lamp that has fallen. It's like, that's weird. What does that even mean for those who are particularly asleep,
Mm-hmm.
So, yes, it's getting into the asleep conscious mind, I feel.
Someone's asking a question in the chat room. Do you have any news from the Pleiadians, and are they preparing for anything? Is there...
I was going to talk to that a little bit later, but I can bring that up right now. It's actually quite simple and quite awesome at the same time. They had been discussing with the other galactic societies that are near Earth and working towards liberation of Earth and supporting Earth during its transformation. And they keep playing out scenarios in sort of like a holodeck simulated space. And they've gotten past that. They said these are all almost like a waste of time, because the people that are waking up are so influential in the state of change on the Earth. They're really just going to be sort of like backup people that will just show up when requested by the more empowered public. So they're not meant to create a shift. What they're meant to do is support and be there the moment that we recognize their presence as a overall society and invite them to come. That's how they feel most comfortable coming forward. And I know that could be a bit disappointing, but the good news is here, what they did say is what they're doing is they're ramping up visiting people in their dreams. And that's where their initial disclosure will be, so that they're going to meet everyone who wants to meet them in their dream space, typically in multiple occasions. So it's like dream time operations almost. And it's not about getting to you to wake up. It's getting to you to feel comfortable so that when you wake up and you do see them, and you do see the opportunity to see them, it's not that far off. And you actually begin requesting to see the reality in your dreams. So they will join us in our dreams, and you can literally make an appointment so that can occur, to make sure that if you're ready to start experiencing that, you can begin that and gain confidence. And, as we know, there's a lot of predictive modeling that goes in during our dream time, and this will prepare that to be more of a conscious side experience to come. So that's what this month is leading up to, especially, and next month as well, if there's still the need. So at this point, we're expected to continue to actually have more dreams. The sightings will continue. They still have the overall mission to have every single soul have an opportunity to see something indescribable by the end of this month. And so from what I understand is they will amplify. But if they amplify too much, it can be usurped as can be twisted into like a bad thing by the media. But look and ask for dreams, not just Pleiadians, but those star families that you feel close to, because that's what they're filling their agenda with right now and in these days. I did have a talk with Andrew yesterday, and there's a session, so if you go to my Facebook and you want to check out that session, you can find out more information about that. And I have been having a couple of talks with them. So if you're interested in Pleiadian talk, check out my Facebook, and you'll find some links there to some stuff that I've been doing. But it's not quite the same public material, because there is a nominal fee so that we can use that fee to take projects to the next level. So that's why I haven't really been talking about it too much publicly, because I do know it is a more limited audience production. But in the theme of everything, anybody that wants to ask me questions, feel free to do that in the event that you want to call in and just ask leading questions too. However, I do think we have plenty to talk about, because I'd like to hear what other people are going through and what other experiences that are similar to Bob and myself. If anyone is feeling this change and feeling how energy is actually activated and being in more of a doing phase at this point. I'd love to hear from the callers, because I know it's going on for lots and lots of people. They're contacting me on Facebook all the time.
Well, just as a reminder for those of you who have called in and are listening on your phones or iPad devices, if you hit 1 on your dial pad, that will signal me that you've got a question, and I will be able to pick you out, and then I can make your mic live. Otherwise, just sit there, and I will assume that you're listening. So if you have a question, hit 1 on the dial pad. But
yeah, I could talk a little bit about what I was doing last weekend, just really quickly. I was moving out. I think probably it's come up already that my relationship has been on the rocks in terms of my 14-year marriage. And I've moved out. I've literally gotten myself an apartment because, it's at that point where it's no longer appropriate for me to be staying at the home with my kids there. And it's a heartbreaking experience to do that level of detachment, I have to say. And I know a lot of people are going through very, very similar experiences where they're wondering, is this person for me anymore, right? And at the same time, I don't want to talk too much about mine, because I don't want people to get too much guidance specifically with what I'm doing, even though you may empathize with the way that I live and who I am right now. Relationships are very personal, and so I won't give too much advice with regards to each individual's relationship. But I can say that I saw this coming. I mean, it was pretty much an inevitability in the same way that I can perceive major shifts in energy. It was just a matter of a couple catalyzing experiences that made me basically not compensate or hold back who I was anymore. So that sort of led to, if you have a problem with me being who I am, we obviously need to create more space here so that you can continue to be what you need in your life, and I'll continue to be who I am in my life. And at that point, what is the priority? Is it ourselves? Is it the relationship? Is it the kids? Sort that out, and then you'll be in a better alignment to sort of just have a discussion about those sorts of things with your significant other. But at the same time, lots and lots of opportunities came from that release. Came from the moment that I moved out, there was immediately new energetic opportunities that were literally waiting for me to create and have a space open to allow them. And so, it's a fundamental state of change, and all weekend was really incredible. And I got to be with people that I've been waiting to be with, and get to have experiences that I thought would never occur. And although that sounds like, I was gaining a degree of freedom that I, might have tried harder to acquire before, they weren't even on the lines of freedom. They were along the lines of, this, I couldn't even imagine this being in my life before. It just wasn't even on the radar until certain energies were out of the way, certain energies that were not allowing me to support my true nature and who my higher being wishes me to play through. So, anyhow, a little bit of an update.
Well, that your situation is the same situation that a lot of people are experiencing right now. There's
what I'm hearing.
Excuse me?
That's kind of what I'm hearing. People are pinging me on that, and I'm trying to keep a respectful distance.
Well, I think people who are starting to question their reality, starting to wake up, they're they're breaking traditions. They're breaking, long-held patterns. They're not doing what, quote unquote, they're supposed to do anymore.
Yeah.
They're doing what they feel they're compelled to do, and it's almost like this drive inside of them, their authentic self, is just suddenly become so demanding of attention. It can't be ignored anymore, and people are just moving out. They're shifting out of the matrix, and I almost picture it just like people getting unplugged, like just much the same way that Neo did.
Like the movie.
Yeah, just like the movie. They're unplugging themselves and detaching themselves. Detachment has become a common word. Detachment from all the things that before you thought were absolutely necessary. And a lot of these things are fundamental things that we thought were permanent in our lives.
Yeah. So what's fundamental in the Matrix world is not what's fundamental after you're unplugged. That's just it, right?
Exactly.
So, and at that point, we're still discovering, and people are still discovering what is fundamental outside the Matrix. What is fundamentally out there? Is it a caustic environment, or is it a place that's sustainable somehow?
Well, in the old paradigm, there was a lot of sacrifice that was going on.
Right.
A lot of sacrifice. This idea, this concept of sacrifice, all the way from the story of Jesus, it is one of those programs that was running in a lot of people's minds that I think has recently become deactive in a lot of people. That they need to sacrifice their happiness, their well-being, their time, their energy for the benefit of someone else, And this idea is it's been so ingrained that it's accepted as normal. It's normal to work for the benefit of someone else. Most people who are in their jobs they're not self-employed. They're making someone else rich, and they're aware that they're making someone else rich.
Yeah.
Right? But they're doing it because they need to sacrifice themselves so that they can get ahead in life. This is the idea that is being replaced now. People are not willing to sacrifice their energy, their hearts, their desires anymore for someone else's benefit. People are beginning to, and this is one of the programs that a lot of people, also are running. It is bad. It is wrong to be self-centered. But where else would you want to center yourself, honestly? Where else would you want to be centered, really, if you're not centered in yourself? And this program is becoming deactivated. That our perspective, our experience, our unique experience and perception of reality can only be perceived through that perspective. Everything that we experience is through our eye. Okay? Through our eye. That eye that, I was a real curious child. I this and I that. That I presence is uniquely yours. And so everything that you do is in relationship and for the benefit of the I first. And it's what it's causing. It's allowing people a space to truly be. Because a lot of people pretend to be something that they're not. They've been pretending to be accountants, pretending to be, their profession, or in some cases they're pretending to be, their possessions, or they're pretending all these different representations of selves are no longer, it's no longer satisfying anymore. There has been an introspective, fundamental change that's happening for those who are awakening internally inside themselves in the way that they view themselves in relationship to their world and their universe. And it's I can only speak from my eye. That's why I really want to hear from the audience, and we're going to go to the switchboards. If anybody has a question, please, or if you have a comment, talk about what it is that you're experiencing in this transition. How is it affecting you? How are you coping? Or if you have questions about what it is that you're experiencing or what it is that you're feeling, and just so you can know that maybe you're not crazy, because it's becoming more and more prevalent, and I guarantee you're not alone. Absolutely.
Yep, that's what this show's about. It's not about my transitioning, it is the transitioning, which is everybody's birthright.
And it's happening, it's happening now. Now, whether or not we reach one point where there's going to be, and I feel that there will be, and you can speak to that, your feeling about that, Julien, that there's going to be a set flash point that everyone will experience something that's undeniable. But I think the ones who are open and receptive to this energy, who have done a lot of clearing work, and can recognize the change in energy that's going through them, are starting to experience these things, first. Not meaning that it's not happening to other people. It's they're aware of what's happening, and they're becoming more and more aware of what's happening to them.
Now, regarding this sort of flash moment, just debatable how flash it is. What I feel is those who are in a position to be listening to this, or have come to this space, other spaces too, we're going to have a really obvious forewarning. Like, you can wait for me to see if I can sense something, or ask Bob to see what he senses something, but it's going to be not as much a surprise for people who are listening in on the trends of the energy and how things are shifting. And already and you've been able to follow what has been shifting, and you can see the results. And if you go back and you listen to radio shows from months ago, you can be like, we had no idea, but we felt something, and we're talking about stuff that is now today's properties of the energy and today's experiences. We talked about it. We saw it come forward. But I think with the kind of flash event that everyone is actually hoping to hear is a discussion on the subject of when will your average unawakened person wake up in a short span of time. And I want to say something. They're waking up right now. They're going through experiences that they can't deny, but they're not, a lot of people are not recognizing the significance of the strangeness going on around them, right? They recognize there's strangeness on multiple fronts going on, and it's like, wow, they're probably just chalking up to, this is a weird world we live in. They're just going to feel that more and more because it's getting weirder and weirder. So this will not be able to be off the subject of their minds for very much longer. Especially when you start having dreams, that don't make sense to you.
I was watching a video earlier, or maybe it was yesterday, and it's talking about there's been this wave of plasmic energy that's been cycling around the globe, and it's been increasing its speed.
Really?
And what it's causing is like a shift in the balance of negative ions. And when you're in that type of environment, what it does is it literally causes your pineal gland to open, so that your normal perceptional band, and this is the reason why a lot of people used to go to sacred sites, because of the mineral content or whatever, it allowed for this negatively charged environment to exist naturally. And what it does is it literally opens up your band of perception so that you can see more than your normal, sensory perceptions allow you to perceive. And so now you're entering into, other realms of perception. And this is what's happening to the whole planet. So the conditions are there and are right so that anyone can now, there's a greater range, a greater band of perception that is available. And your cameras are picking up all kinds of strange, anomalous things that now are becoming quite common. Like, it's quite common to see orbs in pictures. Mm-hmm. When did that happen? Especially, you'll see them at large gatherings where there's people celebrating. You'll see thousands of them all crowded, a certain level above everyone's head. And I've seen tons and tons of videos and pictures where you can see these things just zipping around. And when did that become part of our visible spectrum? And now people are seeing them without the camera. It starts with flashes in the corner of your eye, little flashes of light, or the perception of movement in your peripheral vision, right? But now people are beginning to see these orbs with their naked eyes, because now that visual spectrum is available to them. And it's not like these things weren't there before. You're now becoming aware of something that you before were not aware of. They talk about these sprites that people are seeing in the atmosphere, that, this strange plasma balls of energy. They look kind of like jellyfish. And scientists are studying these, and they say they're interacting as intelligent, organic life. So we're beginning to, look at things that were before beyond our spectrum. And it's not just visually that we're starting to see. We're starting to experience, and some things that are hard to maybe put into words, but you get feelings. You're feeling energy shifts, You're feeling, it feels like someone's standing right behind me on my left side all the time. People are starting to pick up on these things, and it's a feeling that now you can't ignore, because it's something that is persistent. It's not one of those fleeting experience. It's something that's becoming, ever present in people. And for people who don't know what's going on, it's freaking a lot of people out. They think that they're going crazy. They think that, and a lot of times people will be reluctant to talk about these things if you don't know what's actually going on, and you're seeing changes in behavioral patterns. People breaking, certain behavioral patterns that they've become very, very unpredictable, and it's these changes aren't like, they're not gradual changes. People are suddenly just deciding, I'm not going to do that anymore. And when people change that quickly, those who are still under the old status quo, it's upsetting for them. It's very, very upsetting.
Get from the panic, basically.
What is going on? Because people are they have a lot of investment in things being predictable and being, of a certain way so that they can function in life. But when that predictability goes away, and I think we're going to have to start to get used to things changing very, very quickly. A more free-flowing type of experience where, time, space, matter are not as permanent, that they will change with your mood.
It will.
You'll literally, when you feel like a spring sunshiny day, guess what? That's exactly the environment that you'll see around you. I believe this is, and this is just my opinion. I could be completely wrong, so don't take this as Bible. This is what I see, occurring like after the shift, where, if whatever it is that you're thinking and feeling will become immediately present in your environment, in your experience, and you will be able to instantly see and instantly choose in any moment what you choose to experience, and you'll know exactly the correlation between your experience and to your thought and feeling, because you'll see it in front of you. And when that happens, it's hard. People talk, about in the old paradigm, there was this big huge time delay, and because of this big huge time delay, we developed, instead of action and consequence, we developed action and judgment, punishment. Punishment is an artificially created outcome, whereas consequence is a naturally occurring outcome. But because consequence took so long, and because we're impatient, we decided we're going to manufacture our own outcomes for particular actions, rather than to allow the consequence to naturally unfold. Well, things are beginning to happen so quickly now that there's no need for punishment. There's no need for judgment, because the consequences built into the system almost become immediately manifest in their experience. Do you get it? There is no need for judgment, and there never was. The way the system was designed, the way the universe was designed, it was designed in such a way that every action automatically has its consequence. Every choice has its consequence. The consequence is already built into the system. So there's no need for punishment. There's no need for judgment, because you only get what you sow.
It's self-regulating at
it's self-regulating.
Not like self-regulating like you'll have a crummy afterlife. It's self-regulating now.
Yes. But now it's becoming, it's doing its thing a lot quicker.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so it's like that, like a springboard, like punching bag that comes right back at you. You gotta know it's going to come back at you if you're going to punch it.
And this is what a lot of people, we talked a little bit about it last week. People feel as though I'm being psychically attacked. Is that your experience? Is that what you experience? Well, my first question to that person is, what are you feeling and what are you thinking? Because whatever it is that you're experiencing, and this is a hard pill to swallow, and I hate to sound like The Secret, but it is a fact that people have to come to terms with. Whatever it is you're experiencing is you. You are experiencing yourself. anything, and I don't care what's happening in your life, you are experiencing yourself. So please take very, very close attention to your experience. And there's only one way that you can do that, and you need to be in the present moment. What's going on in your experience? What is it that you're experiencing that you don't like, or that you choose or wish was not there? And you're going to find that it is a reflection of a pattern, probably a program running inside you. And it's these things that need to be released in order to get in tune with that, what's happening right now. To get in tune with this new energy, it requires that you release these blockages. That's what I call them. They're just blockages to the flow of energy. They act as barriers to your natural cycle, your natural uptake of energy. But when you remove these programs, first thing you're going to experience is a release. Like like if you had to go to the bathroom really, really bad, and you've been holding it, no, you're doing the pee-pee dance, and then finally, that release it's cathartic, it's cleansing, it is expanding, and it allows more expression, because now that you're not limited anymore by the program. And each one that you go through, each fear, each resentment, each feeling of guilt that you release expands you ever more. It expands not just you and your experience, but it expands your potential and your perception. And these are things that are now becoming unarguably apparent in people's lives. Their thoughts are showing up on the TV screen as they're thinking them. And people are repeating ideas that they thought were private, coming up, you know what I think? I think blah, 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 and tell you your deep, dark secret from someone else's mind. These things are happening now. People are experiencing these things right now, and they're what's going on? What is happening? Their religions aren't explaining it a lot of the times. A lot of their classic science is not explaining it, right? And your mind can't make any logical sense of it, because it doesn't go to the rules that we've adopted, which is another program. And this is my take on what's happening right now, where we are in the stream of things. So there's going to be, I would say, within the next upcoming months, you're going to see people flip, literally become something else. And you're seeing it right now, when people are asking you, are you okay? They're noticing that there's a change. They're noticing that you're not reacting the way you used to. A lot of things are changing, and it's happening to everyone, but it's happening more profoundly with those who are awake and aware, those who are in tune with these energies already. But each person that becomes activated becomes like this beacon.
Point of contrast that leads to more change.
They're like this big, huge lit torch running through a dry valley of straw.
Yeah. They're like, you go for it. You do that. Excellent.
And
everyone will take notice.
Yep, and it's just igniting other people. Everyone that they come in contact with will get a bit of that activation, and and this is what you'll see spread around the world, Now tell me, how am I close? Is that similar to what you're getting, Julien?
Nah, that's like right on par. That's exactly it, because we're doing this in a co-creative format. We're not actually here changing the world only in our own head. It's co-creative for certain. We wouldn't be talking here if we didn't have something in common that we weren't supporting each other with, that we weren't experiencing as a collective as well. Because otherwise, it would just be a conversation between you and me, Bob. We wouldn't need to have the radio show. We would just enjoy the space. And that's how it used to be, right? We'd have conversations with a couple friends 6 months, a year ago. We didn't really have these forums to begin seeing that, hey, Bob and I are not the only ones. Lisa's not the only one. The whole In5D and 5D Media Group, all those people, they're not feeling this by themselves. It's like there's a phenomena that we can recognize in each other's experience. And it's not that hard to reach out and meet each other. It's occurring like where I am this weekend at the castle. People are coming out from really the middle of nowhere because they find the value in spending some time talking and staying up late, 5:30 in the morning late, because, everybody is supporting each other in their experiences. Everyone has like a small piece of experience that helps another, get a piece of the puzzle, and confidence too. The confidence is really the grounding. Now, I'd like to say you shouldn't be grounded in another person's experience. You, of course, are the center of your own importance when it comes to what your reality is. But, boy, you can take a little bit of it, and it really helps you recognize within yourself that you are not the crazy one,
We have a caller, Julien, area code 805. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. How's it going, Bob?
It's going pretty good. Who do we have?
My name's Mitch. Now, I spoke to you the other day on another show.
Yes, I remember you, Mitch.
Yeah, man. How you guys doing?
I'm doing quite well. How are you today?
Doing well.
I'm just living a parallel, not even a parallel, the same reality as you guys. I don't know, it's just really strange. You mentioned that you were talking about the secret. You mentioned that that type of energy that's working. And I find that that's going on. But it seems like there's this push and pull. Like people are constantly pulled towards something, through intention, or pushing away from it because of fear or pain. And to me, it feels like a roller coaster, because sometimes, like, something good, maybe somebody gets a new job and then they have somebody at the job they don't like, and something good becomes something bad, and conversely, maybe you get a flat tire and you meet a new friend, or you meet a beautiful woman or something. And I get tired, I'm really sensitive, and I get tired of that roller coaster effect, and I've really...
There's a lot of processes within the system to make sure people stay asleep, right? It's constantly like wake up, and it's like a whack-a-mole. How many light workers can we knock out with the techniques we've established in the system? And the numbers are overwhelming at this point. It's like way beyond the capacity for the whack-a-mole energy to go in. All there is left is if you believe you're going to get whacked, well, then you allow yourself to whack-a-mole yourself, right? But right now, there's no one going to stop you from experiencing your true inner nature besides you. You don't have to worry about, psychic attacks. You don't have to worry about people chasing you down and, putting you in jail because you told some profound truth. You get to be now yourself at this point. So there's really no reason for people to be holding back from just exploring themselves and speaking out and saying, hey, I believe you guys, or I'm with you because I see that as my truth as well. I'm not asking people to do that. What I'm saying is there's no longer this deliberate attempt to crush people. The only people that are going to be crushed are leaders. Because that's all we have the time for at this point. Anybody who stands out as too much of a leader, they'll do their best to work on those and dampen leadership probability issues. But if we're all recognizing that we're all important, we walk forward, in the billions, unified, and recognizing that the world's got to change now. And I have to say, the people that have been asleep for a long time are taking note of how many people are walking and marching with new tune, and they're starting to question themselves. So it's a wave, definitely a wave.
Yeah. Yeah, you guys were talking about that kind of that boomerang action and as well, in the universe. For every action, there's a reaction as well. Have you guys ever heard about? It's called the Global Alliance for Transformational Entertainment.
No.
It's a pretty cool thing. Like, I forget the guy who's the head of it, but Eckhart Tolle and Jim Carrey are involved in it. And Eckhart Tolle, he did this talk at the last thing, I think it was last year, and what he spoke about was about movies and how what most movies have in common is that, people will be going along doing something and something goes wrong, usually in the start of the movie, they're going on a road trip and something happens. And it's usually those things, those adverse or, unwanted things that happen that are really the chances where we can grow, and also realizing that we're just actors in this divine play as well.
Yeah, very much so. Very much so.
Yeah.
Mitch, do you have a question or observation? How is this affecting you?
Well, just the way that I observe it, I believe in spirituality. I believe in spirit, and I've read a bunch of different things on religion. But what I do like about Buddhism is that it addresses suffering, and that seems to be a common thing. And what they say about it is basically that the root of suffering is thought, and the cause of suffering is believing those thoughts. And I find as I just observe my thoughts, they come and go, like all sensations, emotions come and go, feelings come and go, and that's kind of what helps me, just observing them, rather than trying to take action to it, just kind of being witness to it.
You're not reacting, and that's, the system, it thrives on that. And there's this whole neutral energy that's being introduced. And neutral energy does not react. As a matter of fact, it calms everything. And, when you're in that neutral state, positive and negative, they're equally viable. There's, you're in that 0 point, and a lot of people are finding it easier and easier to get there and be there and exist, maintain that balance.
Yeah,
it's beautiful.
It is, and it's blissful as well. It's not, suffering isn't the cause. Suffering isn't, it's still going to happen, but being conscious of it, like when you fall, if you just fall and, you accept it for the fall, okay, I fell and I hurt my knee, it gets over a lot quicker than talking about it for 2 weeks.
Yes, very true,
yeah.
Very true.
But that's all I wanted to say, and I listen to you guys all the time, and it just, I don't know, you spark ideas in my mind, and I just feel a real connection to you guys, and really thankful that you're there.
It was good to hear from you.
Yeah, it was good to hear from you. Keep calling in, Mitch. I like to hear your comments.
All right, you guys. Have a great day.
Okay, take care.
Bye.
Okay. Now we've got Mike from Norway.
Hello,
Mike,
Bob.
How you doing,
Bob.
Mike? I haven't talked to you in a while.
That's been a while. A lot of water has gone over the waterfall, and you ask about what happens to us as we go on, and I like the way you've put it. The ones that are awake and aware are growing exponentially. Absolutely. But one thing I'd like to say, to maybe something that will help the audience, as an old NLP instructor, I'm pretty well organized in my mind, but I've been suffering from a problem that started in 2001, and some people call it mailbox fear. And that's been a growing phenomenon that's been really exposing me to stupidity, and I've tried to figure this out, and I've been through so many different issues about this. Is it about administration? It's not my spiritual task to administrate for others, and so on and so forth. But I've been continuing on this path about getting out of the matrix officially through the back doors. It started a long time ago with Divine Providence, like you've done, and I'm trying still to stay on the private side, and found a way. And I've discovered that when I took the decision to be and do, and understand how to translate what's been done in English over to Norwegian and make those papers happen, my God, what a change it happened is in relationship to getting the mail. I became empowered, or I empowered myself.
That's it.
And it was like, okay, the spiritual lesson.
Oh, that's perfect, Mike. Because this is what is happening to so many people. And once you stop and you start looking at things from that neutral standpoint, almost like you're the observer, you start to see, like you said, it seems almost stupid. It's why are we doing this? Why am I, and you have this epiphany or this a release.
It's an epiphany and a release.
But because you've recognized this no longer serves me. It no longer serves me, and people are dropping them like, what used to take a few Dilaudid and a year and a half of counseling. People are doing in minutes, in moments, like in the twinkling of an eye, completely dropping whole patterns
that really hold them up. Yeah,
it's always a magical
rapid transformation.
It's always a magical moment.
I've literally had people come back into my life who were estranged from me years ago because I was so weird.
Yeah.
Come back to me, into my life, just as weird as I am, and maybe even more so. And like, where did this person come from? And I was like, oh yeah, I saw a video last week, and here I am. Last week? You made this transformation in a week? Yeah. And I've been researching, and I've been da-da-da-da-da-da, and you're the first person that came to mind, so I'm calling you. I'm like, wow.
I think, Bob, it's like some apples, they take a long time. We've used years to get ripe. But now the time is so ripe, these apples are dropping off the tree like flies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's great. It's you know, I stopped listening to a lot of the, you know, I on my Facebook, I go through post after post after post, you know, usually searching for something interesting, you know, that I might want to look at. But I noticed that all of these, you know, all the posts about the negative things that I really, you know, I'm aware that there's chemtrails, you know, I'm aware that there's such a thing as Agenda 21. I am aware, you know, of lots of many agendas, but I don't give any energy to it. You know, I
That's what it means to be at peace, Bob.
yeah, you know, I like I said in the last show, when these things, you know, come into my consciousness, I immediately assign it the value as something that I don't need to worry about. This is something I don't need to worry about. And
for me,
that's
it's kind of like if you look at energy as a currency, I say that's not really worth much money for me to invest in. There's all these other opportunities that are worth so much more money to my awareness and time and patience. It's like, just don't sweat the small bills, you know? Just
well, you know, a lot
it.
of times I think what happens is when people realize some of these things, that is their trigger point. It's a trigger point for their awakening, right? And because in their mind they've associated, you know, oh, I discovered, you know, this agenda, or I discovered this, and it caused me to question my reality. And in that questioning, they became more enlightened, and they want to share that experience with others. So they provide as many triggers as they can. Did you see this? 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 You know, and even I was there for a while, you know, posting everything that I saw wrong with the system. But eventually, after a while, it's, you know, people, you know, start defriending you. You know, they don't. And I was like, what am I doing? You know, all it was doing was making me more frustrated.
People want solutions.
Yeah. And so then, you know, as a matter of fact, it was Lisa. He's like, we should focus on what it is that we want instead of focusing on what we don't want. And all of this, you know, and this is information that I've known. I've heard this 100 times before. But you get caught up in the pattern, you know, the program that tells you that you need to do these things. And I started focusing on the things that I wanted, you know, and all of those, you know, my reality is uniquely mine, of course, you know, but in my reality there's no locked doors. In my reality there's no chemtrails. In my reality there's very little drama. In my reality there's many challenges, right, but very little drama.
Bob?
Yes.
It kind of reminds me of something that I experienced in 1993. I experienced it as a channeling at that time from higher self in trance. And the voice that came through said, we need to experience how things must not be in order to understand how things must be instead. And I think it's very often that when you understand how the system works and what must be instead, you just direct your attention to the positive. And it just has to go that way. There's no other looking back. And there is a very good separation in humanity today. It's increasing, just like Harry Potter films. You've got the muggles and you've got the magicians.
And the ones that are in between.
Yes, a lot of people right in between, and we're going to help them over.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's
I like that.
It is, you know, I've so much transformation has happened in the last year for myself, for everybody, I'm sure that's listening.
It's
Otherwise,
been a railroad train.
It's been wild to say
Drinking
the least.
from a fire hose.
Yes, and I think just a year ago, and I didn't even know you a year ago, Mike, but I was very heavily into the Divine Province, and my aspirations were, maybe we will get this value, we'll get access to our this money that everybody thought was so essential. But now my focus is completely on, it's so far removed from where I was a year ago.
It's a
now
process.
My focus.
It's a very, very important process.
And
I think.
I think, where we are right now is such, I wouldn't want to be anywhere else. There was a period of time where I had completely given up on humanity and just fuck the world and, but I'm actually genuinely...
You too?
Gracious for being here right now, and being able to share in this.
It's like coming out of a tunnel. It's very much like coming out of a tunnel, Bob.
Yeah.
To sum up what we've been talking about, we're coming out of the tunnel.
Hallelujah.
Yeah. So I'll let you go now.
If it happened yesterday, it would have been a day too soon. Huh? What's that?
Yeah. Okay, that's what I had on my heart, Bob. We'll be talking.
Oh, I'm glad you called, Mike. I'm glad you called, and we'll be in touch.
Okay, bye-bye.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay. We've got area code 808. Your mic is live.
Hello, everyone.
Hello. Who do we have?
Hello. Aloha. This is Kahani from Oahu.
Kohani. Did I pronounce that right?
Kauhani.
Kauhani.
Yeah. Yes, thank you. Oh, awesome show, guys. I called about this before. I think it was on the Collective Imagination, and it's just a question I had regarding, you're talking about, there's no judgment, no punishment, and I just, I come from like the Tao and Buddha school, and what I was taught was that, like, they gave the example, if you physically hit somebody, your good virtue or this glowy white substance will move over to the person you hit, and then their black substance or karma will attach to me, and they said that, like, this principle is in everything when dealing with other embodiments. Like, if I do anything hurtful, steal from them, take what's not mine. So I guess my question was, I want to know your view about this. Like, how does, when the experiment's coming to an end, but how does that get rectified? Like, because it's kind of like, I'm thinking, like, if I hurt somebody, I have to enlighten to the fact that I hurt somebody, and then I have to, like, I don't know, I was taught that I would have to go through the suffering that I put that other person through, or that other animal or being. So I just was wondering about that.
Again, a lot of these things, their belief systems, I pay attention to my experience, Kawani. I listen to, and that has not been my experience. I'm not going to say that that's wrong, but that has not been my experience. I've always been very, very empathic, and I've been in many fights in my life. Unfortunately, growing up as like a black child in the 70s kind of affords that you're going to learn how to fight at a very young age. But what I discovered is, when I was always a big guy, so I didn't lose a lot of my fights. I lost a few, but usually I was the quote unquote winner. But in my experience, I cried just as hard as the person that I just beat up. When I saw them lying there, when I saw them lying there, nose bleeding, crying, coddling themselves or coddling their arm or whatever it is that I just hurt, I instantly would feel I could not separate myself from that pain. So in my experience, what you do to the other, you're actually doing to yourself. And it's would you, if somebody asked me to slice open your hand, would you do it? No, because you know that it would. Well, is your hand you? No, but it's attached to me. It's part of you. It's part of your experience. And to me, it was just a matter of feeling that connection, that you're connected with everything around you. It's not a matter of karma. It's all a matter of how things make you feel. And recognizing that connection with everything that's around you. You don't need a rule to tell you when something feels bad. Because you feel it. And a lot of times you can become desensitized, or you can shut those feelings off. It doesn't mean that the connection's not there. It means that you've chose not to observe it, or you've chose not to be aware of it. And that does happen. But by and large, for most people, it doesn't feel good to hurt others. You do good things, you not for other people. It's always for yourself. You do good things for other people because it makes you happy to do so. And you don't do bad things to other people because, at least in my experience, it makes me feel bad to do so. So I don't do it. I don't want to feel bad.
All right.
And I don't need a system to force me into feeling bad. And that's what I look at a lot of these religious systems. Well, if you do this, then this is going to happen. This what that means, and you get that in your house, and you don't want that to happen. No, I don't want that to happen. So they're putting a thought process in your head, and for me, that kind of distracts you from your true experience. How do you feel?
Well, Bob, take note that you do have a higher empathy than your average individual, and that many people are confused about what they feel they're feeling and what is truth and what is manipulation and, what has been right and wrong, because we've heard so many rights and wrongs that we've sort of accepted. We're not sure which one is a manipulation and which one is our truth, because so many people are still off the track of not feeling what it is that we do to each other. It's like they still play the role-playing game of, I say this, therefore that would get you hurt. But in fact, it's such a shallow element that is not actually the truth. It's almost like if I say to you, Bob, I'm offended by you being homosexual, then you're like, well, so what? But like someone else might be like, oh, how dare you? And you're like, so are you feeling that you should say how dare you, or are you like actually like,
I would say,
yeah, that was
say you're going to have to be offended.
But you see what I mean? Like some people, their reaction may be to play the game of I should be offended, so I will follow the emotion of being offended. And so people's empathy states are not necessarily analogous to actually recognizing the truth within themselves, because they have been swamped by so much fake reality, fake emotions that are not, pure and true. So yes, living in the moment, we should all be able to recognize how we're treating each other. But yet, even so, there's lots and lots of confusion that we're not really able to live the way we're meant to until we do lots of deprogramming of unessential patterns that lead us to, false emotions. There is false emotions, and they're basically someone telling you need to work up a fear of something or work up an attitude or an opinion on something. So it's like, yeah, it's like this fake plastic Barbie world, and lots of people don't know, their emotions from their empathy.
Well, when you have a strong emotional reaction, people will they'll even tell you, I wasn't in my right head. I wasn't in my right mind at the time. They recognize that they're not being themselves. They recognize that they, you and those things that those moments, are, as I guess when you're experiencing them, they don't take you because you're in that neutral spot. You're not. Your first thing isn't to react. Your first thing is like, wow, that was not what I expected. Your reaction is there is no reaction. There's an observation, and you're always in your right mind. It's not that you don't feel the emotion, but your emotion does not dictate your action. Your emotion is a sense, or I won't say emotion. Your feeling is a sense. It becomes another sense. Like I smell something. Okay, well, just because you smell something bad, do you take that personally? No, it's just a sense.
Yeah.
I was
going to say that I've been accused of having like a Vulcan attitude about things. Like I am, how can you be heartless and emotionless about this thing? I'm like, well, no, I feel it. I'm just not absorbed by it. It's not taking me over. It's not, it's not in a place where I can't see my options. I don't say that out loud because it's very difficult to say that without triggering someone into being very furious when you're not reacting in the way that they're, expecting you to react. And, but I do my best to sort of like share that I do understand that there's more behind this emotion source. Like there's more behind why it's coming up, right? And things that trigger us are things that basically force us into a routine of defensiveness and pre-programmed emotional highs. And these things are insidious, right? They're like not who we are. And as much as I would love to say I would love to live who I am all the time, there's lots of things where I make a mistake, where I was not myself, and I look back, and I only notice after the fact, like, wow, I really reacted harshly. I look back, and I didn't really mean to do that. And so when that happened, yes, maybe in the moment I did not have the strength to recognize what I was doing and my emotional lashing, and that's where I go immediately, the fastest route to repairing it and apologizing and trying to help the other party know where I wish to come from at a more conscious state. Because, there's lots of spells out there that get us into more unconscious places, and then they throw in a couple of triggers in there to make sure that this unity amplifies. Like drinking alcohol is a prime example of setting an atmosphere for triggering and making sure, you have lots of people to apologize to in your life.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I guess I was a little curious too, like people like Kissinger and mercenaries out there slaughtering people in Syria, like how are they going to rectify? I was just like, if they for some reason, they're part of like that's my hand. They're like we're one, right? And they're not separate from me. So I was just, I don't know. It's kind of a puzzle.
Kawani, let me explain something. Everybody, and I've said this before, everyone is experiencing, no matter what the experience is, what they're experiencing is exactly appropriate for them in that moment. Otherwise, they would not have created it for themselves. Okay?
Nice.
Everyone is experiencing exactly what they have created to experience. For whatever reason it may be, that's part of their journey. Their choices. it's perfect in every moment. So when you understand that, the person who you quote unquote hurt, or cause damage to, would not exist in that experience if it was not part of their creation.
Oh man, that so resonates. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
For instance, I don't watch television, and I don't watch the political structure. And at that same point, it's like that's not part of my experience. That doesn't mean it's not going on, but it's not part of my experience. Does that mean that crummy stuff is still going on in the political structure? Sure, but I'm not supporting it. I mean, you could say, oh, well, you're being ignorant and you're letting it happen. But, well, no, everybody who gives it any attention is allowing it to happen.
But we provide these experiences for each other. And Henry Kissinger is providing an experience for many people. All these quote-unquote, people who you would judge adversely, they would not exist had they not been co-created as part of the experience for someone to experience.
Oh, I totally get that. Like, it's kind of like they helped to put a fire under my ass and hurry up and discover yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Almost work.
So when you start looking at things from that perspective, you don't see them as evil. You don't see them as good. You see them, someone playing a role.
Oh, awesome. Man, it was such a hurdle for me. Thanks, dude.
Not a problem.
Appreciate it. Rock on, guys.
Hey, thank you for calling, because that was a big hurdle for me too, But as I started to understand, every moment is perfect. The universe, it's not making any mistakes, and there was a lot of things that I felt guilty of. I'm not perfect, people. I'm not. I have been an asshole and a whole ass, sometimes on the same day.
You're a perfect asshole, Bob. Perfect asshole.
And it's, I understand that, had I known what I know now in that same situation, perhaps I would have made a different choice. But had I not made the choice that I made, I might not have come to the conclusion to make a different choice next time. So as long as I see the lesson in each of those experiences, I can release myself from the guilt of it, or from the resentment or anger if you're on the other side. I can release myself of that because I understand what it's given me and be literally grateful for the experience.
Wow. Yeah, I get that, like standing back and looking at the big picture kind of thing from that, what you just said, just stepping back and like seeing how it actually motivates me. It pushes and pulls me to do what I do and go in the same direction, it seems like. I also wanted to just add that since I've been listening and, to all your guys' shows, the One People's and transitioning, is like, really, I was homeless when I first called in, and like now I'm painting murals again and, working at a theater, and it's like of things manifesting in my life that were just visions like a year ago, So
wow. That's wonderful inspiration. That is really, really touches my heart.
It does, mine as well, because you know what that tells me? That you've empowered yourself enough from hearing those words and to actually take the time and ask those questions of yourself, releasing those limitations, because we didn't get that job that you have painting murals. We didn't do that for you. You did it. We didn't get you off the street. You did. We just helped you believe that you could, and that is extremely fulfilling.
Yeah, soul family stuff. Pretty cool.
Exactly.
Right on, you guys. Thank you so much. Blessings.
Thank you for calling.
Thank you for coming on. Yeah.
God, we have some of the best callers.
Best
I swear.
people, yeah.
I swear to God, we get some of the best questions. You guys rock. I've listened to lots of different talk shows. But the audience, there's like, wow, but this audience, they ask the most insightful questions and the ones that have real deep meaning. Thank you for calling, Kalani. We have area code.
Bob,
go ahead. You want to say?
Sometimes I feel like we should have a radio show where we have people just come on and talk. We don't have to say anything. It's like I just want to hear what you guys have to say, because it's like blowing me away too. Like, oh, right.
We've got area code 480. Your mic is live.
Was that me?
That's you.
Oh, hello, Bob. How are you?
I'm good. How are you? Who do we have?
I'm great. This is Damien. I'm in Arizona. Good evening.
Hello, Damien.
It's really great to hear you guys. I didn't actually have my full brain focused the whole time on exactly what we were talking about. I listened to the majority of the show, so I definitely have a full perception and understanding of each of the yous that represent I. I have another half of us over here with me saying thank you for sharing.
Well, you're welcome. And
I didn't have anything so specific I need to add to the conversation, so I guess.
Okay, well now we're gonna grill you. We've got a lot of questions for you. Damien.
Okay. Okay.
Blessings.
I'm only kidding. I was just trying to put you on the spot. No, but like, if I had one question to ask you, it would be, how do you feel?
I feel new with each breath. Some breaths, I don't necessarily feel something that's different or undescribable, but for the most part, each breath has either a set of thoughts with it, or I guess maybe they're a set of visions that key my feelings into just feeling like it's creating. So with each breath, I can just feel that either the thoughts or the things I was seeing are in that space being held for another, I guess we would call it human skin sack, to feel the same things or experience similar things. Because I don't know, a little while back, that whole I am presence started to really kick in, and so it's like there's a co-creator that's here when I'm with others and when I'm with myself, and then there's just the creator being here experiencing the other majority of the time. Can
I tell you what I'm getting from you?
Sure.
What I'm getting from you is someone who there's a newness in the sound of your voice. Like you've recently started a new path, but also there's I think what you've done is you've incorporated, you're beginning to incorporate everything that you're learning, or you're trying to incorporate it, but there's still that little bit of uncertainty in trusting yourself and in trusting what you're doing. But otherwise, you've been brave enough. It seems like you've been brave enough recently to take that step out of your normal doings. But you're still getting used to this new, and that maybe account for the slight doubt and slight, But
hesitation.
Trust in yourself, Damien. Trust in what you feel.
Definitely. Thank you.
Trust that every moment is always going to be perfect for you.
Yeah.
No matter what happens, every moment will always be perfect for you, for the betterment of you in all ways.
Yeah, I completely agree, and I received that very much.
You're beautiful. Thank you for calling.
God bless you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I send that as well, what you've said to me, to everybody else who's in that same space that I'm currently holding.
Oh, very good.
Thank you. Your guys' words are always on point. Always on point. I have a friend here who wants to ask you a question, Bob.
Sure.
Okay, just a second. Here you go.
Are you the father of a little girl?
Excuse me?
Are you the father of a little girl?
I hope not. No. No, not. I am no one's father. I have a godson.
Okay. I just asked you because I feel financial concern, but know that somebody's going to give you a very large amount of money in 7 days. Don't be concerned.
I'm concerned. I'm never worried, though. I get concerned.
Yeah, but not worried. Don't even be concerned.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
All right, guys. I'm going to mute out, but I'll still be here.
All right. And if you have another question, well, you see, you're going to have to hit the one button again to put your hand down. So if anybody who's talked before, if you hit the one button, if you don't have a question, and if you have another question, hit the one button again, and then it will re-alert me. Otherwise, I'm going to assume I already talked to you, and so anyway, you're free to chime in anytime you want, Damien. Thanks for calling.
Sounds great. Thanks, Bob, and everybody else here.
Thank you,
okay. And that's the last of our callers, and we're down to our last 20 minutes. But
wow,
this is
a fast show.
It is, because where else do you go where you can talk about things like this, and hook up with other people who are experiencing and understanding and not looking at you like you got a third eye, which I do. But no, it's incredible to be. I'm so overjoyed that I get to do this. This is pretty much my job. I don't get paid for it, but it is what I do. It's the primary thing that I do, and I love it. I love it.
Well, you get paid in all sorts of other ways, right? The energy comes back to you through your expression and projection. The result of it comes back to you in all sorts of ways that are not, your typical accounting methods of, cash flow.
Yeah.
So,
I eat well.
Okay.
I eat well. I sleep comfortably, and I always have something to smoke, and so I'm happy. I don't need much.
You also have, so many friends that find you and, love to be in the presence of your words and love experiencing what you share, because it's within them. They wouldn't listen to you if there wasn't like a resonance there. It would not really sort of like show up for anyone if it wasn't already part of them. And
well, you know what? I think that as people are starting to wake up and reconnect with their soul families, there's no need for anyone ever to feel loneliness again. There's no need for anyone to ever to feel abandoned again. There's no need for anyone to ever be homeless, because there's so many people out there that understand and want literally to connect with you. Your soul family that maybe you are in contact with or maybe you're not, as you meet them, they're going to challenge you in ways that you never experienced before, but in such a loving way that it's invited, it's welcomed. It's
And typically it's just that point where it's like not so much that you're not learning, not so much that you're not able to listen, but enough so that it does promote change. So it's almost like having a companion who's dedicated to your growth because you're dedicated to their growth, right? And so you do ping each other. I'm going to be honest. My soul family, we ping each other all the time. But we never sort of like go home unhappy with the results of the exchange, so to speak. We're always learning very rapidly from each other because part of the foundation of soul family is dedication to growth in all forms. It doesn't mean where I say, you must grow, you got a problem. It's more like, I think I'm noticing something about you that you're not aware of. What do you feel about this? And, you've been there to watch my back, too. I really appreciate that.
It depends also on the level of connection. I mean, for anyone who knows me, they know that Justin is probably one of the best friends I have in life. And just yesterday, I told him he was being a fucking dick because he was being a fucking dick. But I could get away with it. I could get away with saying that to him. I know it.
Well, right. So the bond you currently have, of course, is how far you can take the relationship. In
I
fact,
meant it in the nicest way.
Right. If you're like, you're bothering me a little bit, that would not get the kind of results that you can get from what he needs to do to support himself and his state. Right?
No, I was just making a joke. I mean, it did happen. That did happen, but it was just.
But you've grown up with brothers and sisters. I mean, brothers and sisters don't hold back very much. They tend to be all in pretty much, and soul family are almost at that space. However, the intention is not to survive themselves and aggravate and try to get energy from another. It's like, I have all the energy to give, and I know that you have my back the same way.
Yeah.
So, a constant supportive system. And, you tend to be relatively at the same level of discussion, too.
Yeah, and it's nice. It's nice to be around people that you don't have to pretend. It really, it's really nice that when you can turn that filter off and you can just, be yourself. It's nice to be in an environment that you're not going to be judged, that you can just openly express yourself as you feel, and you start doing that for a day or two, you're not going to go back. You're not going to go back.
Yeah, it's not just addictive, right? Because addictive makes it seem like you have no control, but it's like all you ever wanted, actually. Like it's the only sustainable route to happiness. Everything else is just objects and labels and, paradigms of limits.
Mm-hmm. Now, we're in the last 15 minutes, and there is one thing that I did want to get into that we didn't really get that much into. We started talking about intimacy. And this is one of those programs that runs around in people's heads, when it comes to dealing with their sexuality, that all of a sudden red flags go up on everyone, oh, he's talking about sex.
Yeah.
This is probably something we're probably going to have to leave to next week because it's not something we probably want to start in the last 15 minutes of the show.
Let's give someone something to contemplate.
Yes.
Let's just open up the floor for perhaps next week. Give something to contemplate, because almost everybody, when it comes to a relationship that's failing or has failed, one of the biggest threats to it is typically the lack of intimacy. Think about that. It's almost always objective number one. So can we wonder why is that the case? Why is that the biggest threat to a relationship breaking down? Because it's one of the most important things when they start, typically.
Well, people may be surprised when I say this, but I'm going to tell you this is how I experience it. This is my truth.
Okay.
Sexual energy is your essence. It is the creative life force. It is the chi. It is the prana. It is the kundalini. It is your essence. It is the fundamental base foundation of your essence. That's why it starts in the root chakra. It's where it all begins. And there has been so much programming put around this energy. So many boundaries, so many ideas, belief structures, and different limiting programs around this energy. And because people recognize how powerful an energy this is. It is powerful. But it is something that I think sorely needs to be expressed in the proper way. It's something that is sorely lacking. Too many people have so many limiting ideas when it comes to their sexuality. A lot of people can't even mention the word without blushing, because there's so much that has been heaped upon, our own sexuality. And next week, we're going to get into it.
I definitely want to get into that. I'm just changing rooms. The reason why is because I'm beginning to feel that, yes, it is within our essence. It is the fabric of creation at its most unfiltered, raw essence. And because of that, it's also the most powerful for change. Like it creates life in the shortest span of time. You can create life other ways, but it is like the shortest route to a physical realization in physical manifest form. So that's also why I feel that it's the most controlled. Because the moment that everyone were to have sexual freedom, so to speak, and full space of expression, there's no holding us back. We rewrite reality in moments because of that. Now, I say that with a bit of trepidation because I'm not going to say go out and have sex, people, because there's these programs that you don't even know you have until you start exploring what it is that leads to problems in relationships where sex is the only objective. Now, it may sound good. We should have lots of sex, or we should get very, very intimate and build up this sort of energy within ourselves. But what we're looking at is why is that not allowed? Because when you're held back, it's the pain that leads to all the complicated issues. It's that inability to go completely for where we know the energy is. It's like forbidden fruit, right? This is because
people are programmed with certain ideas when it comes to sexuality. I'm going to tell you, every relationship you have, I don't care if it's brother, sister, mother, father, best friend, partner, or otherwise, every relationship you have is a sexual one. Everyone. Because it's all about the exchange of energy. And that's what sex is. Neil Donald Walsh called it synergistic energy exchange. Sex. That's what sex is. So every relationship you have is sexual. How you choose to exchange that energy can be very, very varied, but it's all an exchange of energy. You touch, you shake hands, you hug, your son, daughter, brother, sister, friends, because of the exchange of energy, and it's sexual.
Yeah.
So
you know how, like,
in the
purest
sense of the word, every single human being is just sexual. There is no prefix, homo, bi, or hetero. There's no prefix. Every human being is sexual, period. At least that's my
Now, from where I'm going to take it, so I can maybe do a little bit of a balance from your point of view, there is, let's not use sex at the end point, which is, procreation. Let's take it one step back and say a wonderful experience that's very intimate, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And say that everyone deserves that. Not everyone is meant to actually do the procreation act.
Well,
same way,
sex is not just intercourse. A lot of people think that
right.
when we say sex,
clear.
we're talking about intercourse,
yeah.
and that can be part of it, but is definitely
okay. Let's just make sure that's clear. I don't want to have anxiety from some of the audience.
No.
But yeah, it is that fundamental energy that delivers creation at a very powerful, immediate now moment. Now you could say, well, no, the heart energy is the most powerful energy. It's like, well, yeah, it is, in terms of what it's able to do. But if we're talking about like physical change, you're going to see it physically manifested through access at that lower chakra area, lower chakra energy.
I love Neil Donald Walsh, and I love the way he explains in his explanation. Sex in the physical reality, sex is more important than love, because sex is what allows us to experience love. Sex is the mechanism that allows us to experience love. So without that exchange, without having that ability to exchange that energy, you would never be able to experience your own love. So it's a fundamental, and there's so much around that whole topic that I think we will have a lot of fun deconstructing
next week. Yeah.
and next week, because I think people start to understand and look at as that sex, and I'm not just talking about intercourse, and that could be a completely different topic altogether. But sexual energy in itself, it really needs to be understood and used, because it is where your power is. It's where that if you really want to get into doing, you've got to understand the nature of your Kundalini energy, the nature of your chi, the nature of your sexuality, and how it can be expressed. So I look forward to next week.
Oh yeah.
to share.
We'll work with the understanding first before we ask people to just assume that having sexual relations type experiences are automatically okay, because we actually have all these small ties, right? If you just go out and have sex, you can get yourself in trouble. We all know this. To go out and just start, being sexual near people and exhibiting that energy near people, you can get yourself in trouble real fast. And the reason why is because we're not seeing where all the sub-programming ties have been created to make it uncomfortable for not just you, but for other parties.
Right.
So we would definitely have to clear up the understanding portion of it before we can start advocating the methods. So it's going to be understanding before talking about methods, because I definitely want to get into methods of approaching the subject with those that we're close with, those who we feel we could be close with, and those who are yet for us to be close with. But we know we can open up those doors. I think it's going to be a powerful transformation for humanity if they can open up the doors and see exactly the most important thing to be repressed in the human race and society.
Yeah.
There's a good reason for it.
There is a big reason for it. Yeah, and it has been terribly repressed in society. Very few cultures. I mean, you've got to get into some of your tribal Aboriginal cultures to really see a society that understands sexuality and freely express it amongst themselves in a way that is beneficial for everyone. And I want to talk about some of those cultures and some of those tribes and how different.
Yeah, I don't have as much experience with that, but I'm getting you do.
It's a very, very different understanding and a very different way of expressing themselves. The way that they and these societies typically they live. Their longevity is much longer. They have very, very peaceful, harmonious, lives, and their general well-being and health is far superior to anyone in the modern Western world. And we'll talk about that as well. But we're down to our last 4 minutes, so we're going to be
saying, already.
Yeah, it went quick. But I wanted to, in closing, few announcements. For anyone who has missed the show, if you're tuning in, towards the end or anything, and you want to catch the archive, archives are always available at 5dmedianetwork.com, or you can find us at blogtalkradio.com under the Collective Imagination, and you can catch the archive of the show. And also next week we will have our regular shows Monday and Tuesday for the One People's Radio and the Collective Imagination on Tuesday, Monday and Tuesday nights at 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. You can figure out what time that is in whatever listening area you are. And next week would be where hopefully we'll have some good updates, so make sure you turn in for next week's programming. We also have the Remembering and Cool Coincidences. I don't know if Cool Coincidences is still there. No, the Remembering and Enjoy show on Wednesday and Friday nights, respectively.
So bring your sex questions next week too.
Yes.
We'll probably have a lot to discuss in the first hour, but we'll see if we can get people to bring up their biggest concerns. Yes.
It'll be a good show next week. And thank you for everyone who called in. Everybody in the chat room, love you guys. Mike, Mitch, Damien, Kawani, all of you, we love you. And we will all see you next week.